Welcome, everybody. My name is Andrew Patricio, and over the last 20 years, I've been educating, training, encouraging business owners. And one of the topics that often gets asked is, how do we build successful businesses? What are the steps that you go through? And this information I'm going to share with you today is based on these successful business owners that I've worked with. And really, it's really interesting because they seem to follow more or less the same path. They seem to go through the same steps. And you learn so much when you're working with successful people on a regular basis. And that's what makes my job fun, and that's why I can learn so much from these business owners. So what I'm going to share with you today are the seven secrets to building a successful business, based on what these small business owners say more than what I say. The starting point, I think, with any business is to have a very clear idea of what your vision is. What business do you want to build? What does this thing look like? And I encourage you to look at this on a regular basis, because what I find is that our business model changes. It changes as we evolve. For some of us, it changes as we get older. For some of us, it changes as technology changes. But the key thing is there's going to be change. And over the next 5 years and the next 10 years, I think there's going to even be more change. And I think if you understand that, you'll realize very, very quickly that often your vision will change too, the business you want to build. I know in my case, in our small business, my vision has changed sometimes dramatically over time. That 1 minute we're trying to build the biggest webinar business in the country, and the next minute we're trying to build the biggest seminar business, and then we're doing a combination. So your vision changes as your business model changes. And this is why it's really important that you regularly look at this. And this is what vision is, because I like to simplify things, because sometimes when we talk about a topic on a regular basis, we assume that everybody understands, but the reality is not everybody understands. So I'm really going to dumb it down for everybody so you understand that when I speak about business vision, what am I talking about? And this is what I want you to think about. What will your business become in the next 3 years, in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years? And the more clarity you have, the better it is for you. I say to business owners that when I understand what your business vision is, I can guide you and give you more advice and guidance in the right direction. Because if I don't know what you want, it makes it very, very difficult for me to advise. So think of things like, what do you want to be known for? When people speak about you, what do you want them to say about your business? What do you want people to say about your values and your principles? These are the type of things you want to think about. And what's the perfect business look like to you? Because every single one of us online today has a different version of what success means and a different version of the business we want to build. So we've got to create our own image of what success is. And I think this is very, very important. Create your own business vision. Don't let anybody else do it for you. So start off by doing that. And I encourage you to do this. I encourage you to sit down, get a pen and paper, or even better, a whiteboard, and start thinking about these things. For example, what's your exit strategy? One day you're going to maybe want to retire, or maybe one day you want to cash out, or whatever it is. How are you going to do this? Are you going to be bought out by your competitor? Are you going to franchise your business? Are you going to, whatever it is, you need to think about this. And the more clarity you have, the better it is. Because just think of this. If I want to sell my business one day, I need to build a sellable business, a business that can be handed over, that can be paid for and handed over to somebody else. So this is why it's really key that in the beginning, I think about this. And as my business grows, I think about this again, because as your business gets bigger, the chance of you selling to somebody else get greater. Do you want to expand it internationally, for example? Maybe that's one of your decisions. Over the last 20 years, I've worked in 22 different countries, but that didn't just happen. I made a decision that I would like to work in different parts of the world and learn how to work with other business owners, and that was part of my vision. And I encourage you to think about what is right for you. Do you maybe want to leave your business to your family? decide and develop a strategy to achieve your goal. So this is the business I want to build. This is my exit strategy. What are the steps I need to take to achieve that? That's really what it is. And your vision can be a one paragraph or one line, but the more clarity you have, the better it is for you. Even in 2017, I still see the value of a plan. And I want you to understand this, is that when you don't have plans, when you don't have strategies, you have chaos. And as a small business owner, we've got a very, very busy life. So we just got to be very careful that we just don't amble along without a clear idea of which direction we're going into. It's really like having a roadmap, and I'm sure you've heard that term before, but it's really key when you know what you want to build that you start creating a map to achieve that. And this is the importance of planning, because it gives you direction, gives you focus, and it tells you what you need to do to achieve your business vision. So start off by getting a bit of clarity. Firstly, what are your business goals? What do you want to achieve in your business over the next 1 year, 3 years, 5 years, and 10 years? And for some of us, just focusing on the next 12 months is enough. But for others, we need to think a bit further forward. And really depends on you. But start writing down exactly what you want. I've found the most successful businesses that I work with have a clear idea of what they want to achieve. And they achieve this by writing down exactly what they want. And I encourage you to do the same thing. Once you've written down your goals, your next job is to get all of your employees, all of your advisors, all of your partners, the people that work with you behind your plan. Because if you're working in one direction and everybody else is working in a different direction, you're going to really struggle. So make sure that you get your employees. You get buy-in from every single one of your employees on your plan. Keep your plan short and simple. This is what I recommend to people. You don't have to create, because, you know, when you say to small business owners, create a plan, they think, well, I'm going to write down pages and pages of content. And the reality, you don't need to do that. You just need to get the basics on paper so that you understand, so that you can focus on what you need to do. So the simpler your plans are, the better it is. And over the last 12 months, actually, I've been spending quite a lot of time on simplifying things, coming up with one-page marketing plans, coming up with one-page business plans. But here's an older version of my one-page plan, which I think is still very valid. It's simple and easy to follow. But these are the key things that you need to build a successful business. The first thing is you got to focus on your customers. What problems do they have, and what are you doing to solve them? So that's your first thing. So these are the challenges that my customers go through, and you need to ask this question on a regular basis. Ask your employees, ask your customers, what are the challenges that they have that they think you could solve? That's the first thing. The second thing is your solution. What is it that you do that can solve your customers' problems? And you've got to identify that, because really at the end of the day, that's what we are. We are problem solvers. We solve our customers' problems. We help them with jobs they need to get done. That is the business we are in. So that's the second thing. The third thing is your value proposition. And I want you to think about this, is what value do you offer your customers? If you could come up with one sentence, what would that one sentence be? Is it about convenience? Is it about reliability? Is it about whatever it is, you've got to focus on that. Because if you cannot come up with reasons why your customers should buy from you, they're going to buy from your competitors. The fourth thing I want you to think about is, what is your competitive advantage? If somebody had to ask you, what is it that you do, what would your answer be? What is that one or two or three things that you do that give you an advantage over your competitors? And finally, how are you going to make money out of this? So these are the things we need to think about. And most of these things don't change too drastically depending on your business model, but you've got to think about them on a regular basis. This is the way I like doing things. I like, in advance of the new year, planning for the next 12 months, and then every 90 days going through and seeing if I'm still on track and updating it. So that's the first part. The second part is your marketing. I believe that these are key sections of our business that we need to look at on a regular basis. We need to find out who are our customers. What do they like about our products and services? What don't they like about our products or services? We need to know what's happening in our industry, what changes are taking place. You know, I was reading this week, and I don't know how true it is. It could be true, could be false. They say that in 4 or 5 years, every one of us will be driving self-driving cars. We'll be sitting, in self-driving cars, not driving because we don't need to drive. And this to me like blows my mind. I'm thinking, really, is this how quick it's going to happen? But the important thing is, if changes are taking place in your industry, as a business owner, you need to know what these changes are, and you need to start preparing for them. The second thing is, who is your ideal customer? And this is really key. You've got to identify 2 or 3 target markets or segments that you can supply better than anybody else. And the more clarity you have on this, the better it is for you. Once you know who your target market is, you can then start creating marketing materials specifically for them. You can start creating ads that resonate with them. These are the type of things you want to be doing. And finally, and most importantly, is you must have a plan. You must have a very clear plan of exactly what you're going to be doing to grow your business over the next 12 months when it relates to marketing. And you've got to understand the importance of being organized. The third thing is you've got to look at your cash flow. What are your monthly expenses and what is your cash flow forecast? Because you've got to understand on a regular basis, our expenses are changing. Our expenses are changing, and because our expenses are changing, we need to make sure that we update our cash flow forecast, that we recalculate our break-evens. And if we don't do this, we're going to make less profit. It's really that simple. The fourth thing and the final thing is your break-even. You as a business owner need to know exactly what your gross profit margin is and what your break-even point is, because these are 2 criteria that you get measured against. How much profit are we making before we pay our expenses? And secondly, how much revenue do we need to generate every month or every year to survive in this business? And if you don't know this number, I believe your chances of failure are much higher. And I see this on a regular basis where business owners have got no idea what their break-even is. Crazy. The other thing I encourage you to do is to do a SWOT analysis of your business. On a regular basis, go through the exercise. Look at your strengths. Look at your weaknesses. What are the opportunities out there for you, and what are the threats to your industry? So let's start off thinking about your strengths. What advantages do you have over your competitors? What could customers say? What would your customers say is the reason they buy from you? What makes your business unique? Excuse me. What do customers identify as your strengths? And what problems do you solve better than anybody else? And we've got to think about this as business owners, because this is our unique value proposition. This is our USP. This is the thing that differentiates us. Because if we're doing everything like everybody else, we're going to struggle to survive. Because customers are looking for differentiation. Customers are looking for benefits of buying from you. And if you do not give them a reason, they're going to buy from your competitors. Let's go through some of your weaknesses. And as a business owner, as our businesses grow and evolve, we'll very, very quickly identify what we're not so good at. And the sooner we can find somebody to do that thing. Let's say, for example, accounting is not my thing. I need to bring in somebody to do accounting. Let's say social media is not really my thing. I need to bring in somebody to do social media. These are the type of decisions we need to make as business owners so that we can grow our businesses. Develop solutions to overcome your weaknesses. That's what you need to be doing. Identify growth opportunities. I'm always thinking about how can we grow. And the reality is a lot of the ideas that I come up with, we never implement. But we don't stop thinking. We've always got to be thinking. We've got to test the viability of them, maybe do a bit of research, maybe find out what our competitors are charging, maybe ask our customers what do they think about the idea, and then we either launch or not launch. But we've got to be looking for growth opportunity. Businesses that don't grow die. It's really quite simple. And then be aware of your threats to your growth. And I encourage you to do this. Regularly go and check out your competitors. Regularly buy from them. Regularly get quotes from them, just so you understand what they're doing. Also, look at their marketing materials. Look at their websites. Get somebody to visit their stores so you can identify, what threats are there to my industry. I say this to business owners all the time, is that if you are great at marketing and sales, the chances of you succeeding are much greater. I really believe this. I really believe that often people come up with really good concepts. The problem is they don't know how to market and sell it. So when people say to me, is this a good idea? I don't know the answer to that question. The answer to that question should always have this caveat. It really depends on how brilliant your marketing and sales is. And I found that people that have that skill, that have that marketing and sales skill, can really grow any business. But you've got to become really good at this. You've got to obsess with this. This is the topic you've got to understand better than anybody else. If there's one topic you want to learn, it's about sales and marketing. So let's discuss things that are important when it comes to marketing. When it comes to marketing, it's key that we know who our customer is, that we have a very, very clear idea of who our customer is. We also need to know what's going on in our industry, because the more clarity we have about what's going on in our industry, the better it is for us. So I've seen, for example, a change over the last few years, that there seem to be a lot more online training and online courses. But there's also a hunger for live, in-person training. So there are two opportunities here. And as a business owner, you've got to decide which direction you're going to go in. Do I go in the direction of all live training in person, or I do online? And I've got to weigh up the options here. So really understand your market. What do your customers think of your product or service? I encourage you to pick up the phone on a regular basis and phone them and say, hi, I'm the owner of this business, and I just have a couple of questions for you to try and understand what do they think about your products or services, what do they like about your products or services, and what, more importantly, what don't they like about what you are doing. Also, as I mentioned earlier on, understand your competitors. How much do they charge? How do they market their stuff? What are their strengths and weaknesses? All of this stuff is going to make you a better marketer. And that's really what you want to be, is you want to become a better marketer. You want to improve what you are doing. So clearly define your ideal customer. Clearly define your target market or target markets so that you know what advertising you should be creating. If your customers are on Facebook, maybe you should be on Facebook. If your customers are not on Facebook, maybe you shouldn't be on Facebook. If you're selling business to business, maybe you should be on LinkedIn and not the other social media. But these are the questions we need to answer so that we make sure that our marketing is effective. But we've really got to understand our customer. We've got to understand our industry before we do that. Develop a detailed promotional plan. So what marketing tools are you going to use over the next 12 months to get customers? Is it email? Is it social media? Is it advertising? Is it knocking on doors? Is it phoning? Whatever it is, you need to get clarity. How will you measure the effectiveness of your marketing? And this is really key. You've got to make sure that you measure things. But like asking your customers, where did you hear about us? Where did you hear about us? Or putting in code in your marketing emails and things like that, or on your Facebook ads, so you know if people are clicking on your stuff based on that information. And set yourself a marketing budget. Allocate a certain amount of all your revenue every month towards marketing. We should never stop marketing. So if there's anything you want to do, if there's one thing you want to do after this webinar, is focus on your marketing. You've really got to become good at that. And I encourage you to spend time trying to become a better marketing person. When it comes to sales, again, you've got to understand these two things are linked. Sales, marketing, and advertising in small business really often one department, not that we have departments, but really they fall under the same category, I think. So as a business owner, I've got to set myself sales targets. How much revenue do I want to generate every month? How much revenue do I want to generate this year? Set specific sales targets for yourself. Develop a lead generation program. I've got a very good example of a business owner that I hang out with regularly that uses the telephone. Employ 2 young people to phone cold leads on a regular basis and turn them into warm leads. It's a great strategy, and it can work brilliantly for you. So develop a lead generation program. Phone people, email people, network on a regular basis, develop content your customers want to read, but we've got to generate leads. That's how we grow our business. Somebody phones us, we follow up, we close the deal. Set regular appointments to go and meet people. And this needs to become your habit. Because what happens sometimes, as our businesses grow, we become a little bit lazy. We don't network so much anymore. We don't have as many meetings so much anymore. We don't go out for coffee so much anymore. We've got to make sure that we keep this up. It's got to become a habit. It's got to become a routine. It's got to become a way of building our businesses. Yesterday, I was running an interesting workshop, and I was speaking about the importance of employing absolutely brilliant people. And I want you to understand the key thing here is that you want to employ good people. But you've got to find these people, because when I speak to very successful business owners, this is what they say to me, is that when you have the right people working with you, it makes building a business so much easier. So I encourage you to do this. Identify the gaps in your business. Maybe on a whiteboard, start writing down the different functions in your business, marketing, sales, accounting, bookkeeping, whatever, all the different sections you have in your business. And identify what are the people that you need to help you grow your business. If you could bring in the right people, who would these people be? And then you can go out and look for them. Develop profiles of the ideal candidates, listing what personalities they have, what skills they need to have, all those type of things. Get good people with a great attitude. The one thing you're going to learn as a business owner, you cannot teach attitude. This has got to be in the person. It's got to be part of their DNA. It's got to be part of the way they were brought up. It's got to be part of their being. And those are the type of people you want to employ. Even if they don't know what they're doing, you can teach them these things. So find people with a great attitude and outsource if you have to. I believe there are so many opportunities nowadays to outsource. You can use Upwork, you can use Fiverr. I was reading this early on today about Fiverr Plus or whatever. But these are the opportunities for us, is we go out there, we find the right people that can help us grow our businesses. That's what we need to be doing. Develop an operations manual. Here's a great idea. With your systems, your processes, your policies, and your procedures, the way things get done. The more structure you have, the better it is for you, because then you can grow, then you can scale. When your employees have got a question, what do we do about this? You say, this is how we do it. Go to our operations manual and say, this is how we send out an email. This is how we ship items. This is how we place orders. These are the questions we ask when somebody calls our business. You need to create structure. In the beginning, not such an important thing, but as your business grows and scales, it becomes so important. Develop a training plan for your employees. I encourage you to do this on a regular basis. Focus on training your employees regularly. You want to have the best trained employees possible. And some people say to me, if I train my employees really well, they may leave me. That's true. But if you do not train them well and they don't do their job properly, they may stay with you. That could even be worse. So just be very, very careful as a business owner of being short-sighted and not training people because you're afraid they're going to leave you. Focus on results, not how many hours people work. And I say this over and over again to business owners. You've got to be measuring people's results. People that come to work from 9 to 5 may not be the best people. Maybe those that or sometimes late, or sometimes leave a little bit later, whatever it is. These are the type of people, if they get the results, those are the type of people we want to work with us. Well, those are the type of people I want to work with. I don't want clock watchers. I don't want people that are there just passing time. I want people that get results. That is the key thing for me. And your job as a business owner is to inspire and motivate them. You want to get great people, you want to inspire them, you want to motivate them, you want to encourage them, and that's the way you build a successful business. So understand the importance of really getting good people. The other thing is your numbers. I'm really spending a lot of time, especially over the last 2 or 3 years, on educating small business owners on understanding their numbers in their business. It shocks me how few business owners know how to read an income statement, know what their break-even is, know what their gross profit margins are. You cannot operate a business or you cannot grow a business if you do not know this. And I think what happens is, when there's a lot of change going through, when salaries are being increased, when minimum wages are being increased in different states and different provinces, this creates chaos for small business. When you organize and you know what's going on, it's okay. But when you're not organized and you don't know what's going on, you make less money. It's really quite simple. And you don't want to build a business where you every year making less money than you made the previous year. That's not a good thing. Maybe that's not the business to be in. And that's the reality of many business owners. If we don't know our numbers, we don't know what's going on, so we're not making profit. What gross margins are you achieving? And the only way you can find this out is by checking your income statement at the end of every year, by checking what gross profit margin did we make last year. What margins would you like to achieve? And how would you find out this amount? By looking at the industry averages, by speaking to your advisors and your accountants, they would be able to advise you. When it comes to your income and expenses, what are your expense ratios? What percentage of your revenue are you spending on marketing? What percentage of your revenue are you spending on labor? What percentage of your revenue are you spending on your different expenses? We need to know this. We need to compare these to industry averages and know how we're doing. We need to develop expense budgets. And you know what? The stuff is not complicated. It's really about doing the things that we need to do. So I'm using a couple of big words, but understand it's really about measuring. It's about sitting down with your accountant and saying, how are we doing? That's really what it's about. It's about setting yourself a budget and saying, you know what, this year I'll only spend $500 in entertainment. We're only allowed to spend $400 on stationery. We're only allowed to spend $2,000 on whatever, vehicle maintenance, whatever. It's setting specific budgets so that your employees become aware of expenses, because they've got to understand that this is your responsibility to educate them. They've got to understand that if we spend too much, we make less money. If the business makes less money, it's a disadvantage for everybody, because we could go out of business. So you've got to make sure that your employees understand that they shouldn't spend when they don't need to. Get a good accountant to guide you. Maybe now's your opportunity. Just fire your accountant and get a good one. Get one that you understand. Get one that discusses financial statements with you. Get one that you feel comfortable with. I find a lot of small business owners are dealing with accountants that don't know what they're doing or just don't help them. And the reality is you need somebody good that understands your business that can help you. Regularly update your cash flow forecast. For me, this is a really key thing, is that cash flow is king. It really is. And if you want to survive in business, you've got to monitor your cash flow. Know your monthly and annual break-even. These are the basics of business. Knowing how much cash I need to operate this business, knowing how much revenue I need to generate every month or every year, these are the basics. And you've got to learn these things, and if you don't know them, go out there and learn. Go and speak to your accountant, find advice, attend seminars. These are the things you need to do. Here's an interesting statement that I found somewhere long time ago, and I cannot remember, and I apologize for that. But this statement really resonated with me. Sales is vanity. Profit is sanity, but cash flow is reality. You can have a business doing great revenue, very, very profitable, but if you run out of money, you're basically screwed. And this we've got to understand as a business owner. We've got to monitor our sales, our profit, and our cash flow. That's how we stay in business. Use technology. I sometimes sit back and think, how could I ever operate my business without technology? But I want to be using more technology. I want to use more technology that makes my life easier, that makes me, allows me to work from anywhere, and most importantly, allows me to make more money. But the really important thing is we've got to get the basics right. Use email marketing. Outsource your technology. Find people. It's so easy nowadays to get really good people. And if you're not happy with them, you just get rid of them. Make sure that your website, we're going through this rebuild of our website. Our website, I think, is about 10 years old now. But it survived 10 years. It's done well. We never needed to change it. Now it's getting a bit clunky, so I'm going to be going through the process. But this is an important thing as a business owner, is that we look at our website and we decide, is it worth us updating or is it not worth us updating? Let's not update things for the sake of doing things. Make sure that you use free online resources. There are so many that I use. I use Hootsuite, I use Dropbox, I use so many different free online resources that are available to us nowadays that we can use that can make us better business owners. And use social media. You know, I have this love-hate relationship with social media. Sometimes I love it, sometimes I hate it. I love it when it gives us business. I hate it when you just have to post stuff and nobody responds. But the reality is in 2017, you have no option. You have no option to be engaging with your customers, to be asking questions, to be sharing content, because that's what they expect. And if that's what they expect, that's what we give them. Find yourself great mentors. You know, when business owners ask me, you know, I want to build a successful business, what should I do? I said to them, go and find yourself some people that have done it before and ask them questions. So find people in your community, find people in your family, find people around you that will guide you and give you direction. Because I really believe this is the key to building a successful business, is having great people around you, people that encourage you, people that motivate you, that when you're stuck, you can go to them and say, what should I do? Or what would you do in your situation? This is what we need. We need people that we can share our challenges and our problems with, because these people will encourage and motivate us. And finally, and most importantly, is never give up. I still think in 2017, running a business is one of the greatest things we'll ever do. It's also one of the most difficult things we'll ever do, but it's one of the greatest things we'll ever do. And we've got to understand that as a business owner. We've got to understand that giving up is not an option. When I meet successful business owners, they all have a story of how they struggled, how they persevered, how they never give up. And this is the way you build a business. Let's just summarize quickly. Firstly, start off with your vision. What is the business that I want to build? Secondly, make sure that you write down your goals very, very clearly of exactly what you want to achieve. Thirdly, focus on your marketing. You've got to become really, really good at marketing. Then your sales. You've got to make sure that you set yourself sales goals and you've got clarity on what you want to achieve. Focus on your financials. You've got to be really good at this stuff. Employ the best possible people you can. Use social media, use technology, use these things to help you grow your business. Find yourself great mentors. And finally, and most importantly, never give up. I wish you all the best of success. Take this information, build $1 million business, and I'll be very happy. Thank you very much.